The night Daniel Carter finally spoke his truth, the house was silent in a way that felt heavy, almost warning them. Outside the lake behind their Oregon home reflected the moon like broken glass, calm on the surface but hiding depth underneath. Emily noticed the silence first. Daniel was standing at the kitchen window, unmoving, his coffee untouched. He had been like that for days present. But distant tense something in her chest told her this moment would change everything. He said without turning around, his voice low and careful. I need to ask you something. And before I do, please know I love you. This isn't about leaving. That alone made her heart beat faster. Daniel was not a dramatic man. He chose his words the way some people chose shelter only when necessary. Emily shut off the stove and leaned against the counter, watching his reflection in the dark glass. Okay, she said. You can talk to me. Daniel took a long breath, the kind people take before stepping into cold water. Have you ever felt like you skipped a chapter of your own life? Emily didn't answer right away. She was trying to understand what he meant and why his hands were shaking. He continued, turning to face her now. We met young. We built something good. I'm proud of our life. But sometimes I feel like there's a version of me I never got to know. The words landed softly, but their weight pressed down on her chest. Are you unhappy? Emily asked. No, Daniel said quickly. Not unhappy. Just restless. And I hate myself for even feeling that way. They sat at the table where they'd once planned their wedding guest list, where they'd argued about finances, where they'd celebrated promotions and birthdays. This table had seen every version of them. Tonight, it felt like a witness. I didn't want to say anything, Daniel admitted. I kept telling myself this feeling would fade. But it hasn't. And I don't want secrets between us. Emily studied his face. There was fear there, not guilt. That mattered. What is it you want? She asked. Daniel looked down at his hands. I want honesty. I want the freedom to talk about the parts of myself that feel unfinished. I don't want to wake up at 50 and realize I stayed silent because I was afraid. The word afraid stayed with her. Emily felt a mix of emotions rise up: confusion, sadness, even anger, but beneath all of it was something else. Recognition. Because if she was honest, she had felt it too. Not about leaving. Not about loving someone else. But about how life quietly moves forward. And one day you wonder how much of yourself you gave up just to keep things peaceful. That night they didn't solve anything. They talked for hours, circling the truth without fully touching it. When they finally went to bed, Daniel fell asleep quickly, exhausted. Emily did not. She stared at the ceiling, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, and felt tears slide into her hair. She wasn't crying because he had hurt her. She was crying because she realized marriage wasn't just about staying. It was about growing without knowing where growth might lead. Over the next few days, life continued as usual on the outside. Emily went to work. Daniel fixed the loose step on the porch. They laughed at a show one night and ordered takeout the next. But underneath it all, something new existed between them. Not distance. Awareness. Emily replayed his words again and again. A chapter one never lived. She asked herself hard questions she had avoided for years. Had she changed just to fit the marriage? Had she stopped wanting things because wanting felt risky? When did safety become more important than honesty? One evening, while folding laundry, she noticed how familiar everything felt: his shirts, her sweaters, the quiet comfort of routine. She loved this life truly. But love, she realized, didn't cancel curiosity. It didn't erase questions. That realization scared her more than Daniel's confession. A week later, they walked by the lake, leaves crunching under their shoes. The sky was gray, the kind of day that made conversations feel more serious. Daniel hadn't brought the topic up again, but Emily could feel it waiting between them. I've been thinking, she said suddenly, stopping near the water's edge. Daniel turned to her, careful. About what I said? Yes, Emily answered. And about what I didn't say? She faced him fully. When you told me about feeling unfinished, I was hurt. Not because you were wrong, but because I recognized the feeling. Daniel's eyes widened slightly. I've been so focused on keeping us strong, she continued, that I didn't notice how quiet parts of me had become. Not unhappy, just muted. They stood there, the wind moving across the lake, carrying the scent of wet earth and trees. I don't want us to pretend, Emily said, but I don't know what honesty looks like yet. Daniel nodded slowly. Neither do I. I just know I don't want to lie by staying silent. That night, Emily realized something important. Daniel's wish wasn't a demand. It wasn't an ultimatum. It was an invitation to talk, to risk discomfort, to be real. But invitations can change everything. She spent the next few days remembering who she was before life became schedules and responsibilities. She thought about dreams she'd postponed, conversations she'd avoided, feelings she'd pushed aside because they didn't seem practical. And then she thought about love. Real love wasn't fragile glass that shattered at the first difficult truth. It was something stronger if both people were brave enough to face it. On Sunday morning, as sunlight filled the kitchen, Emily poured 2 cups of coffee and sat across from Daniel. I'm not ready with answers, she said, but I'm ready to listen and to speak honestly, even if it's uncomfortable. Daniel exhaled, relief clear on his face. That's all I was hoping for. She reached for his hand. But understand this, she added softly. Once we start being honest, we can't go back to pretending. Daniel squeezed her hand. I know. Emily didn't say yes that morning. Not yet, but for the first time since that quiet night by the sink, she felt something open inside her. Not fear, not lost at possibility, and she knew deep down that whatever came next would demand courage from both of them, because love, when taken seriously, always does. The morning Emily finally said yes, the sky over the lake was clear and sharp, the kind of blue that made everything feel exposed. She woke before Daniel, her thoughts already racing, her heart steady but determined. This was not the yes of fear or pressure. It was the yes of someone choosing truth over silence. She stood at the window, watching the water move in slow waves, and understood something important. Love was not being tested. It was being invited to grow. When Daniel joined her in the kitchen, still half asleep, she placed a cup of coffee in front of him and sat down. I'm ready, she said. He looked at her, confused at first, then alert. Ready for what? To stop pretending we don't feel things, Emily replied. To talk honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. I'm saying yes to that. Daniel didn't speak right away. His eyes searched her face as if he was afraid this moment might disappear. Are you sure? He asked quietly. No, Emily said honestly, but I'm willing. That yes changed the air between them immediately. It didn't break their marriage. It stripped it of its armor. They began with conversations that felt awkward at first. Late-night talks at the dining table. Long walks where words came slowly. They spoke about dreams they had buried under responsibility. Daniel admitted he had always feared becoming invisible in his own life. Emily confessed she had learned to stay quiet to keep peace. Nothing dramatic happened. No sudden choices. No rash moves. But honesty has momentum. Emily noticed herself speaking more freely at work, no longer hiding her opinions. Daniel picked up his old guitar, something he had not touched in years. Small changes, but meaningful. One evening, Daniel admitted something that surprised her. I was afraid you'd think my wish meant I wanted something else more than you. Emily shook her head. I was afraid that if I said no, we'd slowly disappear anyway. That truth settled between them like a shared secret. Weeks passed. The tension that once felt dangerous now felt purposeful. They were learning each other again, not as the people they had been, but as the people they were becoming. Emily realized how strong trust could be when it was chosen daily, not assumed. One night, after a long conversation, Emily sat alone on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. She thought about how easy it would have been to shut the door on this path, to choose comfort over courage. Many people did. But comfort had a quiet cost. Daniel joined her, sitting close but not touching. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said, surprising herself. "I'm just thinking about what?" he asked. "About how saying yes didn't make me smaller," Emily replied. "It made me more aware." Daniel nodded. "Me too." They didn't need to define everything. They didn't need rules or promises beyond honesty. They trusted each other to speak before resentment could grow. That trust became their anchor. Months later, during a visit to the coast, they walked along the beach as the sun set. The wind was strong, the waves loud, but Emily felt calm. "Do you regret asking me that night?" she asked. Daniel thought for a moment. "I regret waiting so long, but I don't regret asking." Emily smiled. "I don't regret listening." They stood there, watching the horizon. She understood then that love wasn't about avoiding hard moments. It was about meeting them together. Emily had learned that saying yes didn't mean agreeing to every fear. It meant agreeing to face them honestly. Back home, life continued. Work deadlines, family visits, ordinary days. But something had shifted permanently. They laughed more icily. They argued more openly. Silence no longer felt dangerous because it wasn't hiding anything. One night, Emily caught her reflection in the mirror and barely recognized the confidence in her own eyes. She felt present in her life again. Daniel noticed it too. "You seem lighter," he said. "I feel awake," she answered. That was when Emily understood the real meaning of Daniel's wish. It was never about searching outside their marriage. It was about not losing themselves inside it. And her yes had not weakened their bond. It had rebuilt it. On their anniversary, they returned to the lake where everything had begun. The water was calm, the air warm. Daniel took her hand. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" Emily asked. "For trusting me with the truth," he replied. She squeezed his hand. "Thank you for asking instead of hiding." They stood there, quiet and connected, knowing their love was no longer based on habit alone. It was based on choice, and that choice made honestly, bravely, and together was stronger than any fear either of them had ever carried.